The only podcast that would never spill the tea. This is Bombers. Hey everybody, welcome to another wonderful episode of The Bombers. I am here today, Bomber number 5, Anthony, aka Dag, with Bomber number 3, Zyber, aka Zyber. I am here, and I see two dogs. Yes, dogs, we love to see it. And our very special and awesome and amazing guest, Librarian NPC, or NPC. So, welcome. Did you say librarian or librarian? Whatever I said was correct.
Hello, everyone.
Very excited to have you, because this is going to be a very nice, nerdy conversation, I think, knowing you.
I mean, you know, just if it's nerd, I'm in, so let's go.
Yeah. Is there any cool little intro bits that you would like for our audience to know before we get into it, or shall we just run into it?
You know what? Let's go ahead and make them work for it. Let's run into it.
Haha, love to hear it. Well, starters, we can tell that he's a librarian and an NPC. You can roll with your speculation from there.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, sometimes us main characters like to bring on the NPCs to show support for them.
Welcome to Corneria.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. First thing, I'd like to get this going. I think it's cool enough. Yeah, that hurt my finger a little bit, so let's do this. Scrooge, wonderful Scrooge, has sent in something for drinks and foods. So here's the drinks and foods. It is tea. I got sent tea. Yeah, I hope you understand the context of what he was saying earlier now. Yeah. From Harney & Sons, the Master Tea Blenders, I was sent 2 different blends. The one that I've chosen for this week is the nourishing Japanese sencha green tea. From Tea Garden to Teacup, this is just a talk about, this is not a talk about the actual sencha. Is there anything about this particular tea on these? A very approachable green tea that offers the soft, light flavor found only in the finest green teas, loaded with healthy antioxidants. It has a caffeine content of 30 to 50 milligrams per sachet. Sachet. You know, so it's great how I was on Discord being like, hey, I'm getting into tea, any suggestions? And then someone sends you tea. I feel like you asking for suggestions may have prompted me getting tea, Zyber. Where's my tea? Well, first give out your address, and then you'll get tea. Those are the steps. I already gave it to you. Send me it. No, this is my tea.
How about this? You go ahead, you send me his address, and I will send him tea from one of my favorite places.
What is your favorite tea?
So, like favorite tea or favorite tea place?
Both. Yes.
Okay. So it really just depends on my mood. You know, I like various types of tea depending on weather and circumstances. Like year-round, green tea is good. But, you know, if it's snowing and whatnot outside, I'm going to go ahead and break out a blend. Sometimes a chai, sometimes the one tea shop, the Royale Tea Company, calls their Winter Storm, which, if I remember correctly, is black ginger, vanilla. I think there might be almond in there. Like, it's a really nice, you know, down to earth, perfect for, just perfect for winter tea. But then when Snowbright Studios was doing a cookbook with their adventures for their Kickstarter, they were also doing tea pairings working with my other favorite tea shop, Friday Afternoon Tea. And they're a nice, solid, LGBT-owned and operated tea shop, and they do custom blends. One of their blends that I ended up getting, they have blends for each of the main D&D classes. So I have the Bard's blend sitting over there, which I don't remember what's in it right now. But then they also
You probably will never know if it's the Bard.
I mean, the Bard is the one that gets into everything, not the other way around.
It was probably, honestly, better that you don't know what's in it.
But the other one that I really liked was Wisdom, which is, of course, inspired by the Triforce of Wisdom from The Legend of Zelda. And one of the things I loved about that was, if I remember correctly, it had blue corn flour. So it actually brews as a blue tea.
That's so cool.
And then if you add lemon, it becomes a purplish red, if I remember correctly. I'd have to get it and look at it again, but
that's cool.
Yeah, so 2 favorite tea places, and I do like my tea.
Nice. Well, while you have tea, I have a milk tea flavored mochi.
Ooh, mochi.
Nice.
Yes, let me put it in front of my face so you can actually see it.
Yeah, it's like, let's take a screenshot, but then we would have to edit in your avatar, and that's just too complicated. I hope that the audience was paying attention to those tea recommendations. This tea smells amazing. I love green tea, that nice, like, earthy scent that you get from it. Some people might complain that green tea is like grass, and I say that's, 1, disparaging, and 2, honestly kind of the point.
That's also somewhat incorrect. Like, matcha is more grass than green tea.
Yeah.
And also, green tea is so much better than black tea.
And it also depends on the type of green tea and, of course, how long you brew it for. If you overbrew it, you're just ruined it.
Yeah. There's the brewing process, the blend, all of that is very important. This smells amazing. I'm going to give it... I think I can not burn my tongue by touching this, so I'm going to give it a sip here.
The trick is to gulp it down without letting it touch your tongue.
Oh, that's pleasant. It is 83 degrees here, so a little bit too hot, but that feeling, that taste, that is a very good... I'm glad that I apparently brewed it correctly, and it's a very good blend. I'm not good at this particular, like, talking about the specific details of tea flavors. All I can say is this is some of the best green tea I've ever had. So,
nice.
Thank you, Scrooge.
So you're gonna send me some, right?
The only thing, before I address that, I would say this is the type of green tea that might... Normally I like to drink it just plain. This is the type of green tea that might benefit from a slight amount of honey. So... I might do that for the next cup that I make on a nice cool day. Or cooler than 83 degrees, at least.
Oh, hopefully those days are coming.
He's not answering my question.
And, Zyber, why don't you take us to the bombastic news?
Well, if you insist, it is time for everyone's favorite part of the episode, Bombastic News, where Zyber, aka me, talks about the news that is bombastic. As usual, you should know by now that we have a website, thisisbombers.com, where you can find out about us as people. You can see information about our podcast, our YouTube channel, where we also post our podcast and try to post Twitch stream segments, whatever they're called. We also have a Twitch, speaking of, twitch.tv/thisisbombers, where we regularly play video games 3 times a week. You can join us usually on Thursday nights, except for this past week it was Wednesday, for community nights where we play games with the community. You can join our Discord, link in description below, where we talk about a lot of stuff, and we now have a new Game Club and Album of the Week Club going on again. You'll hear about the latest album we listened to, hopefully later in this episode. As for the game, that hasn't started yet, but we will be playing what game in October?
It is Pony Island, a nice kind of spoopy game for a spoopy month.
Yep, so you can look forward to us talking about that eventually. I'm pretty sure we plan on streaming it at some point as well on Twitch to get through the game.
Yep.
And finally...
I was going to say, we are going to bring back the Game Club streams, so...
Okay. And finally, if you enjoy these conversations or anything that we do to entertain you, you can go to our Patreon and give us money. You can be an acquaintance, friend, best friend, or executive bomb-deucer. And if you are any of those, you can...
Come on, you got this.
I need some tea. I need some tea, man. My throat is...
I'll tell you, if you can make it through Bombastic News, I'll send you some of this green tea. How about that?
Perfect. Anyway, you can join our Patreon, and if you do, you'll get to be in our Only Friends channel on Discord, where we show pictures of animals and talk about certain things sometimes about our episodes. Go do it. Be our friends. And shoutouts to our current best friend of the show, Rob. Hello, Rob. And our friends, Haley, Aaron, and Reaper, and our acquaintances.
Hello to the rest of you. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it. Let's get the upcoming releases for this coming week out of the way. It's a heavy week here, I gotta tell y'all. Starting tomorrow, the 27th, that is Tuesday, we have 3 games. The first that I will list is Grounded is finally going gold and is releasing on the Sexbox, Xbox One, and PC for its gold full actual release. It's been in the game preview or early adopter, whatever they call that stuff. Pre-access.
Oh, that game.
Early access.
Yeah. Early access, thank you. My brain was not getting that phrase together.
Good. It's a day.
It is a day.
The alpha that used to be beta, but now it's alpha.
Etc. Yeah. Grounded is a game. It's a survival crafting game where you basically are playing as the kids from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, lost in a backyard, surviving against all different kinds of insects and whatnot. The main enemies are spiders, so I'm out. And you're trying to work your way through the game to, get big again.
Don't they have anti-spider mode?
They do. Speaking of things that I am out on, the next game that I have spotted here is a game called The Fridge is Red, which I know nothing about because I didn't want to look too much at it, but the webpage for it is Spiral Down the Horror Episodes. And I went, okay, well, maybe Zyber will be interested. I'm not looking any more into these details.
I don't see that on my list of games coming out, so I don't know what it is.
Well, I linked it in our recording chat there. It's the second link down.
Oh.
I had to pull it up. That is coming to the PC, and if you like horror stuff, you can look into that, but I'm not telling you stuff about it because...
Oh, you can play a demo right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, Zyber. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Oh, well, I'm forcing you to.
Nope. Also, tomorrow, Tunic is getting its release for the PlayStation 4 and 5 and the Switch. Of course, it was already released on the Xbox stuff with their whole, early exclusivity contracts that they have. It's wonderful. Tunic's great. I love it. I recommend it. If you
Get
like Zelda-style games, it's 100% worth picking up.
You have no excuse. If you're listening to this, you should have a device that now plays Tunic. If you don't, I don't know why you're listening to this.
That is Tuesday. Then 2 days later, on Thursday, September 29th, there are a handful of games coming out, including... hold on, let me move over to the tab so I can share some details about it. Including Brewmaster, the beer brewing simulator, coming to the PC. It's exactly what you think it is by looking at it. Brew your perfect beer in a relaxing home brewing sim using realistic chemistry simulation to brew any type of beer that you specifically want. Which, if I know anything about home brews, you're just going to make a bunch of IPAs that are kind of not good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You do what?
I do brew my own mead at home, and I know a couple of friends around the area who have been doing their own brew stuff. So this seems like a way to do that if you don't have access to the space or the time or the ingredients.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, oh man, I'm done brewing actual beer. If only I could continue brewing somehow. I know, I'll do it virtually.
You make that joke, but one of our community members is a trucker for his actual job and plays Trucker Simulator on his off time.
Just like I know farmers that play Farming Simulator, so yeah. By the way, I watched the trailer for The Red Fridge. I still know absolutely nothing about the game.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because, wow, it's a horror game. Therefore, the trailer is like a horror trailer and doesn't say anything.
So here's the question then. NPC, would you play Librarian Sim if that was a thing that came out and existed?
Only if he gets to punch the people that are too loud.
Yeah. Oh, I see he's moving room now. Whoops, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
He's running away from the red fridge.
Yeah.
Yes, I am escaping from the red fridge. Sorry, downside of having cats. They get into all the things that you don't want them to get into.
I am very familiar with this concept.
All right, so could you repeat the question again for me? Would I play a librarian-based simulator?
Yes.
Honestly, it really depends on how they handle the simulator. Like, if it's handled similarly to, like, Reciteer or Moonlighter or something else like that, where you get to go adventure to find the books and then you keep them in stock for the various members of the community that need them and go out and quest for more of them, 100% definitely would. But if
Yeah,
it's
that sounds awesome, actually.
But if
So
it's
it's
like
like-
my current day job, no thanks.
Yeah.
So if it was more
Because-
similar to the movies, The Librarian.
I mean, if it was more like the movies, or movies and TV show, 100% would definitely do and recommend. Otherwise, I got too many Excel sheets that I deal with on a daily basis, and I don't want to have to go ahead and play the spreadsheet simulator when I'm at home.
Again, I know community members who absolutely would have fun playing Spreadsheet Simulator. So.
I mean, my wife basically makes spreadsheets for every JRPG she plays.
Anybody who plays like EVE Online is basically just playing Spreadsheet Simulator.
They're playing accountants.
Yeah. Also, coming out on Thursday is a game called Moonbreaker, which I have now lost the link that I had open for that, so give me a second.
Wow.
Yep. Doing a good job here. Moonbreaker is from the creators of Subnautica, a digital turn-based strategy tabletop tactics game in a bold, expansive sci-fi universe. It is available already for early access, and that is getting its full PC release on Steam on the 29th.
That is not something I would expect from the makers of Subnautica.
No.
And yet, it
Here we
looks
are.
interesting, with it being basically a war game, like a mini tabletop tactics game. So I'm a little bit curious already.
Now, question: can you play this in VR?
That is a wonderful question that I did not see an answer to on their website.
It's like, it looks like a literal tabletop game, except with animations and such. So
Animations and computer-generated etceteras. It doesn't say anything on the website about being VR compatible, but they should definitely do that because that sounds awesome.
yeah,
We also have Dwarf Romantic is getting a release on the Switch. We talked about this game before when it was released on the PC, and I very much enjoyed it. It's a fun little, relaxing, like Carcassonne-style city builder tile placement game.
Yeah.
We also have Witchy Life Story,
what?
which I only include because that's a hilarious name, and I know that some of our community members are going to be all over it just for the name. You have 2 weeks to save the Harvest Festival, tend your garden, and collect plants for spells and rituals to help the villagers of Flora. After all, if magic isn't for solving everyday problems, what's the point of a village witch anyway? A cozy story filled with chaos, friendship, and romance. It looks cute.
Pretty sure that's what magic's for: the chaos, friendship, and romance.
Yeah, but you solve those problems. Or, no, I guess you could create those problems. Well, you'll have to play the game to find out if you're solving or creating those problems with your witchy life in this
Sure.
story.
Witchiness.
So are the
And
problems the friends we made on the way?
The real problems are the friends we made on the way. That's too relatable. Oh boy. And the final game on Thursday is actually two different games because it is Valkyrie Elysium and Valkyrie Profile Lenneth.
Woo!
Coming for the PlayStation 4 and 5, and Elysium is coming also to the PC. I know NPC, you were very excited to talk about this one, so go ahead and take it away on that.
So for those who don't know, Valkyrie Elysium is the newest addition to the Valkyrie Profile series. Those of you who are old gamers like myself probably played the original Valkyrie Profile for the PlayStation, or its PSP port Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. The game tells the story of a Valkyrie trying to stop Ragnarok. And in it, you go out, you find souls of the fallen, train them up in classic RPG style, and then try to save the world. Its sequel, Silmeria, which is sadly not in this port list, had you in a different side of adventure, but same world, a lot of similar characters. And now we get Elysium, which I know nothing about outside of a trailer that looked amazing, and now I need it. So the idea of being able to get the first game and the third in the same day is just... I'm never going to financially recover from this.
But you are able to get the two of them combined for $75 on the PlayStation Store.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember it was like a, what do they call them, State of Play, where they released the Elysium trailer. That was a pretty good State of Play.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and being all like, this is different, but okay. I've never heard of the Valkyrie. I probably have, but...
It was honestly surprising to see Valkyrie Profile coming back when they had released that trailer. It's like, oh, wow!
Yeah, last thing we heard from the series was the port of Lenneth from PlayStation to PSP. So, and that was
2006.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're an entire gaming an entire generation really. There are kids now that are just old enough to finally appreciate this. So
yeah, if you guys are like
years.
really excited for God of War Ragnarok, you could try getting into the lore with this game first.
Yeah,
plus strong female protagonist, and there's some other badass systems built into place, like really interesting combo mechanic if they bring that back correctly, where everybody has certain number of hits, certain fighting styles, and you can mesh them together to basically do limit breaks.
There you go.
So I'm in.
So yeah, of all of those, was that like 7 releases that we talked about this week? Let us know which ones you're interested in, and if you do pick any of them up, let us know what you think of playing them, especially the Valkyrie games. I'm very curious to hear more about those. So NPC, when you end up inevitably picking those up, you'll have to let us know.
Just freaking out me next time. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You don't have to attack me like this.
If I get the fridge is red, will you watch me play it?
I'll watch it. As long as I don't have to play it, I'll watch you play it.
All right.
We can make up for that attack by now saying, hey, it's the guest discussion portion of the episode, at which point you get to geek out ad nauseum about things that you want to instead of us putting you on the spot. So here, let's put you on the spot about this. And
well, you can always throw more questions and commentary at me, but for those who don't know me, I'm Anthony Domenico, better known online as Librarian NPC. I am a TTRPG indie game developer, and librarian by day, game dev by night-ish. I have a lot of years of convention experience as a non-player character where I would give out quests. That's how Deg and I met. I don't know how many years ago now, and for some reason he still hasn't tried killing me yet, or at least permanently anyway.
I'm not a murder hobo.
He's just really bad at it.
Well, I mean, I also respawn every 5 minutes, so...
That's relatable too.
But I love making tabletop games that are inspired by various fun and entertaining subjects, while also having brand new and interesting mechanics that are not based off of the Dragon game. So
good.
Ubiquitous Dragon game or the ubiquitous Apocalypse game?
Yes. So the games I have out right now, the first one is called Niche, which is the game that my friend Bob and I built to run his brainchild, Project Henshin Heroes, which is a game series inspired by Super Sentai.
I love that name.
And the first Henshin Heroes game, Prisma Paladins, he just approached me and said, hey, it was during COVID shutdown too, so we both had time.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, I want to make a game, and I want it to be Super Sentai, but I want it to be good and be more like Japanese Sentai, not American Power Rangers. And I
Not
said,
Power
okay,
Rangers, yeah.
let's do this. So what we did is we built an apocalypse adjacent game where it's still 2d6 versus a table, but we modified the table. We changed how you get your bonuses. We changed how you track your various health by utilizing tropes. And if you take too much, if you lose too many tropes, you lose the card that's tied to it. Yes, your character sheet's a collection of cards.
Sounds like you splashed some Fate into that.
Oh, we splashed Apocalypse, Fate, and a whole bunch of various brainchilds I had been kicking around for years until we finally did that. So that's Niche and Henshin Heroes. Then I said, I still have time. And there was a Saturday where I just sat there and said, you know what? I want to do like a real challenge. So I challenged myself to make an RPG that would fit on one piece of paper. So I wrote Saturday Morning Awesome Cartoons, aka Smack. And it literally was me sitting there on a Saturday saying, I miss all the cartoons from the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I miss waking up on a Saturday morning with a bowl of sugary cereal and, watching cartoons that were basically just ways of producing more toy sales.
Yeah.
And then I built a game that is basically you are making a character as though you are equipping a action figure. So you have hand items,
so
you have
good.
backpack items, and you build up from there.
Let's profit off of this profiteering.
Well, actually, the one thing you'll find about a lot of my games is I try to keep them as low priced as possible because I want them to be readily accessible and affordable. It's just sometimes I need to be able to make enough money to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So, which then leads to my next game, Data Drivers, which was my love letter to Reboot and Tron.
Oh, you speak my language.
You're playing a computer program inside of a hard drive, going on the various misadventures that you would have. Now, of course, when you build your character, you can be anything. One of the example characters, I was talking to one of my artists, I said, this is what I want. I want just off the wall, what would happen if you took Reboot and Tron and lived inside of the computer and all the things there? She said, well, I still need a character idea. I'm like, all right, you know what? This game is going to be so bonkers, you could play 10 dragons in a trench coat. So we now have a piece of art that is literally 10 dragons in a trench coat. That is how the character 10T was born, who has an unhealthy obsession with shinies and has a special power associated with collecting shinies.
Nice.
So, and that game uses a, what I'm calling the binary system. It uses just even-sided dice. You just need odds and evens.
Oh,
that's
so
it.
Coin flips, basically.
You could do coin flips or any die you want because you're really looking for odds, zeros, or evens, ones. So you can grab a whole pile of D100s if you really wanted to. Might take you a minute to get your result, but it's still there.
I love that.
Then after that, we get the big one that I've released, which is my last official in-print release, which is Ghast Bashers, which is a D12-powered comedy horror role-playing game inspired exactly by what you think. I was hanging around working on a Proton pack. Yep, Deg's got a copy, which is
dude.
He's got a signed and numbered copy, in his hands.
Yeah.
So what happened with Ghast Bashers here was it's been 30 years since we've seen a officially licensed Ghostbusters role-playing game. And I know there's some other games inspired by it, but not really a lot recently. So I said, all right, I want a game that can handle Ghostbusters, SCP, Supernatural, Warehouse 13, The Librarians, Sanctuary, Men in Black, and I just kept going down this list of things I wanted that all share similar veins of, investigation, capture / destruction if need be, and if possible, turn a profit so you can keep the doors open.
With that nice supernatural-ish element to it as well.
Yep. And the game was made to be relatively lightweight. Like, the actual rules section of it is 16 pages, if that? And it's a digest-sized game with artwork. So, 16 pages to cover everything you need to actually play the game? It's really not bad.
Side note, with awesome artwork, by the way.
I had some amazing artists on board for that. Nightland and Malgi Monster just hit it out of the park.
Yeah, they're great.
But what I ended up doing, though, is I wanted to release this game, so I did. And like I said, my love letter to Ghostbusters, as well as everything else relating to it in that list. And that's actually been a very fun one to run at conventions. I'll actually be running it at a convention in a couple weeks, which is we're doing they're doing a cryptid theme at SubasaCon.
Oh,
And I will be running a game that is going to be based out of Point Pleasant, which is where the Mothman legend came from.
Nice.
Yep. That's good. I like that all kind of comes together like that for you.
Oh yeah, it's all
Where's-
coming together.
Where's that convention at?
That's going to be in Charleston, West Virginia.
It's so
And
far
Anyone
for
in
me.
the area. A little far for Cyber, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit, but and then after Gas Bashers, I was debating what to work on next. So coming up, I have a game that I've released as a quick start called Dualities, and I'm waiting on the final art for that before I can finish the rest of layout. And that is a card-powered role-playing game of shape-shifting heroes. I wanted a game that could handle everything from magical girls, Super Sentai, werewolves, people with like 18,000 suits of power armor, multiple demon or animal forms, and then just go to town. But still be balanced and not have to have different rules for each one of them. Because, when you get into some games, you get so much crunch about the difference between a magical girl and a Sentai and a werewolf versus a wild-shaped druid. It's just so many moving parts.
Barrier to entry for new people as well at that point.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to release a game where $10 gets you everything you need to play the game. The deck of cards, index cards, pencils, and the book itself. I really wanted to make this game as approachable and lowest cost of entry possible. And we're going to go from there. I will more than likely lose money on it, but hopefully will get people into the hobby and open up more doors because, again, low cost of entry and just very fast and easy to pick up rule set with lots of storytelling potential. That one is currently a quick start, so people can see the pamphlet size of the core rules.
So you have it. Yeah, so you have the quick start version. When are you expecting the finished version? Do you have a rough idea?
Well, originally I was going to have the finished version out by now, but or around right now. But I had some setbacks in my personal life, health issues.
Yeah.
My artist and I weren't seeing eye to eye on a couple things, so we had to get some of that fixed up because some of their art was in an entirely different direction than the art directions I gave. So we're redoing some of that right now. And the Kickstarter flopped. So I have to pay for that out of my pocket in order to go ahead and get that done. But, it's interesting to say the least.
It's a project. Yeah.
Yes. So once the art is done, I just got to sit down, plug the last of the text into the book so it's all laid out correctly. But I need the last of the art to know where am I putting the art to get the rest of it set up.
Yeah.
Everybody loves doing layouts, right?
Oh, it's so time consuming.
Yeah.
That was in your book. I can do it.
Oh boy.
Then after Dualities, I actually just got the teaser sample cover from one of my artists. We gotta make a couple tweaks for it, but it's going to be called Trip. The rest is play.
Oh.
And that is going to take the core mechanic of Ghast Bashers and then all of the optional rules that people were asking for. So take the base D12 mechanic, 3 stats, 9 skills of Ghast Bashers. Add in rules to handle everything from magic to giant robots. And then say go.
Go.
Yeah.
And leave it up to the actual game group or the
Mhm.
DM game master to determine what the direction is for it.
Yes.
Those open-ended ones are pretty fun, like that, because you
it's-
can really do some crazy stuff.
Oh
with
yeah,
them.
it's going to be a toolkit very similar to what we have seen with Cortex and Fate, for example.
Right.
So it's going to be bigger than Lumen, but it's that's also because I need a little bit more crunch to go with the game. But
Right.
it works. And then of course my big pet project is an expansion for Ghast Bashers called Teams, Threats, and Tacos.
Tacos.
Yes, tacos. The premise behind that book is to touch base on various legends around the world and the people who are squaring off against them.
So an actual, more like an expansion, like a lore expansion type
Yes.
of idea.
Yep.
That's cool.
Because, we have such a Western-centric view in a lot of tabletop role-playing games, and it's specifically a Eurocentric view, when it comes to the worlds behind tabletop. So I want to expand on that to do something else.
That sounds cool. And I like that kind of expansion just increases the tools that can be given to game groups to
Mhm.
tell more stories. That's great. I like that. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
And the real great idea behind it is I hope it'll actually get somebody to start reading mythologies in other cultures to expand their minds. And maybe you'll get them to get some extra ideas of what to throw at the table besides yet another, random ghost number 872.
Yeah, it's because
But I
a lot of
loved
RPGs, we do.
862s.
What was that?
I loved 853's Ghost.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Yeah, a lot of RPGs that you see, you get a lot of, as you said, Eurocentric, a lot of like Greek or Roman or Norse, as we talked about, like with Valkyrie Profile and the upcoming God of War Ragnarok. Just so much of that mythology is baked in. You don't really get to see a lot more of like the Asian mythologies or African mythologies or even
Mhm.
Native American mythologies. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot more really awesome stories in the world through all of the various cultures that we have that are completely untapped for RPGs, which is a real shame because there's
Yeah.
some awesome stuff
Well,
there.
Dig, do you
Oh,
know
yeah.
where you can get a lot of that Eastern stuff?
Where?
In, like, Korean or Japanese RPGs?
Uh-huh. Give me some examples, Zyber. Let's go.
No, it doesn't matter, you don't like them.
JRPGs, if we're talking about like the actual video games, yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
that's what I mean.
I'm talking about like tabletop TTRPGs. Because all we see are just like, again, the Dragon game mostly is where a lot of stuff comes from.
Yeah.
There was White Wolf actually many years ago. I don't know if you remember the Scion series.
I have the second edition on my shelf, and I played the crap out of the first edition when that came out.
I have all of the first edition books except for the last one. And I never got to play it because nobody was interested.
Yeah, I ran it a bit in college.
Nice.
The thing is, though, when you were talking about White Wolf and East, I thought you were about to go ahead and drop the reference to Kindred of the East or the Hengyokai, Shapeshifters of the East, because
No.
yeah,
I
or
was not.
or what was it? The Land of a Thousand Dreams, I think, was the one based in the Middle East for Changeling.
I didn't
I'll
get
get
too much into Changeling, so
I
mean,
just walking database tabletop. Don't mind me.
yeah. There's Exalted, which is one of my favorite tabletops, and that does have a fair bit of Eastern inspiration
yeah.
into it, which is wonderful. And I really like Exalted. I just think it's super fun to be ridiculous in that game.
Exalted is a trip. Basically, Exalted is great if you want an over-the-top medieval fantasy, and Scion is basically the same over-the-top, just in modern day with mythology references.
Yep. That's speaking my language with those two, and which is why I'm so upset that I never got to play any Scion games. 'Cause
Yeah.
it just seemed really fun.
What's stopping
It
you from
is.
doing it
It's-
now?
It's hard to get groups together, and also I'm spending all of my time on Bombers stuff.
So what I'm
Although I do-
hearing is we got to go ahead and run a game of Scion for Bombers.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do it. We got
Sounds good.
Fridays.
The other thing that I've really been wanting to do in Bombers is put together just simple gas basher, like one shot style things where we have like a Bombers franchise where we can drop and add players and characters based off of who happens to be there that week as the one that's on the assignment for the day type of stuff.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work to plan games.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I write the games I do, because they're going to be very quick and easy to pick up like that. Like the demos I run, outside of making the sample characters, I have a quarter sheet of paper, maybe a half sheet on the high end, to cover everything I need in order to run the game.
That's magnificent. I love like the one page like quick and easy one-shot style things where you can just run a game real quick. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that from you.
So yeah, I try to make lightweight games that way people aren't sitting there going, all right, I gotta map out every single encounter and appropriately scale. It's like, nope. Nobody has time for that.
Or on the player side, he's referencing Exalted, where you gotta figure out, oh, what's my build and what are all of my different, abilities and
just
all that
stacking
silliness.
all those charms. Oh
yeah. So far the only games like that I've played is Monster of the Week and Everyone's John, which have been really fun to play.
I mean, Everyone's John is priceless.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
That is definitely a game to play when everybody is just tired at like 3 a.m. Nobody slept for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just spectacular.
We would just do it during lunch in high school.
I did one of these
now you make me feel
times recently. I ran 3 kobolds in a trench coat for the Bombers group.
Nice.
That was very entertaining, considering the plot that I gave to them was you're attempting to get into a convention as 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
That seems really easy.
Well, I mean, it's not supposed to be particularly hard. It's supposed to be what shenanigans are you going to get up to whenever you inevitably mess up.
Just go in a Deadpool outfit, no one would bat an eye.
Yeah, that's fair. Ugh.
3 kobolds in a Deadpool outfit. Oh boy.
So where can people find these games that you've made?
Yep. Thank you.
So the game, words are great. First, I am working on a website of my own to sell my games as I go, as well as the 3D prints that I am doing, because show up to a convention with just 2 books, you're not going to get too much attention. So I got into 3D printing as a side thing. I throw money at a bunch of artists and they say, yes, sell our stuff and pay us money dollars. I'm like, okay. So I have a collection of artists that I have sculpts for. I just haven't gotten around to setting up the website because there's a couple hundred models that I need to go through the effort of.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
The last convention I ran, I had, I think, 206, 207 different figures sitting at my table.
Now, like, in types of figures? Or...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and that was just the figures. That didn't include the statues. That didn't include the bigger figures like the summons and the other monsters. And that also didn't include the monsters in my gashapon.
That's a big table space for a convention.
I mean, it's just standard 8-foot table, or if I remember correctly. But I just had to get really creative with how I set up.
Yeah, I bet.
But outside of my own website, which is still under construction, I have all of my games available on itch.io, so itch.io/librariannpc. I also have set everything up under my my publishing company name, which is Pithy Productions.
Good name.
Yep, Dag, you're like, that's so you. that pith helmet is still around. It's coming back. But I released my games under Pithy Productions, which you can find on DriveThruRPG, and I also have print copies available through Indie Press Revolution.
All right. And then you're going to be at some conventions coming up too?
Yep, my partner's setting up at SubasaCon, so I'll be helping her out in October, and she lets me have a couple of my games at her table in exchange for me helping. So, so I'll be there. I will be at ArcadeCon in November, and that is a RPG or it's a tabletop RPG convention in Dayton, Ohio, and that's the first weekend of November. I'll be vending there, and I was invited as a guest to DualCon, which is a hybrid tabletop gaming and video game convention based in Charleston, West Virginia. I was invited as a guest, so I will be there in February.
Nice.
Nice.
And then there's a couple others that are on the potential docket. It's just, can I get table space confirmed?
Always the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, that whole, can I get the time off work, and can I get through the waiting list, and do I have the money to pay them their table fees?
Yeah, table fees are always a real upfront gamble because you don't know how well your sales are going to be.
Yeah, and if it's a winter con, then it's that game of, can I even make it if the weather gets bad?
So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's always the gamble. But I try to do in-person appearances to promote and sell my stuff, and also just talk nerd. And I also am trying to get more of the web presence set up, so bear with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the real fun of conventions, is being face-to-face and actually, nerding out with people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, whenever you do get the website set up, let us know and we can share that as well.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate
put that out there for sure. I don't really think I have any more questions on that front, unless you have anything more you would like to continue to put out there.
I mean, that covers most of what I've been doing lately, based off of the various business mentality. It's mostly just more and more 3D prints coming up. More games being produced. Oh, that's right. There is one other one that's on the docket. I just haven't really finalized it outside of the fact that it's only going to use D4, D8, and D12.
Okay. I like the little going for some of the less used dice is very fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, the D12 is a very special lonely die. And there are some games I've seen that use only D8s, like Bite, and then Caltrop Core uses D4s, if I remember correctly. So I'm here going, well, what can I do to make things interesting? And now it's like, hey, here's a game idea, 4, 6, and 8, and it's going to be a sci-fi game.
Okay, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about that as you get it figured out.
One of the inspirations behind it is Metroid.
Awesome.
All right, you're talking to the correct group of people here then.
Yeah.
I had to put that one on hold because the Duality's brainwave finally broke the one challenging bit I had. Then I finished it, and then now I'm just editing and layout and waiting for art. So I had to put my sci-fi game to the side until I could finish the game that is actually ready to be produced.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That is the hardest part of projects, is the home stretch. Like, it's done, but not finalized. But I got this other project I really want to work on.
Yeah. I've I have a bunch of them. Again, between the sci-fi game, Trip, Dualities, and Team Threats and Tacos, I shouldn't be sleeping, but here I am.
Yeah, it sounds like it keeps you real busy. I guess that is one question, because you covered a lot of the business side of things. What have you been doing with like personal time for gaming or hanging out and relaxing and stuff like that?
Well,
which is
when I have time. Right now, I'm being forced to take time because I spent 5 days in the hospital, and my doctor gave me the go-ahead to be home for the rest of this week, and I'm on light duty. Like, don't lift anything over 10 pounds type. Don't go overboard. So I'm stuck here recovering, so I've been playing some console gaming, reading a little bit, between the hospital stay and being out, and just going from there. Reading wise, I read a comic called The Quarantine Zone, released by DC, and in it does a what if situation of the root cause of all evil is a virus that destroys part of your brain, and therefore you need to be cured of it. And now you have this idyllic society where everybody is completely harmless, like can't even hurt a fly, and everybody who is infected or cannot be cured gets sent out to a wasteland.
As they should.
Interesting. It's got that to me has like vague amounts of. Do you remember the Carl Urban and The Rock Doom movie?
Yeah.
It has a little bit of that feel to it.
Yeah. It's
just off your description.
Yeah, it's an interesting comic. Definitely worth the time I put into reading it, and I got it cheap at a used bookstore, so even better. So yeah, it was a fun read. I was also doing some reading on a game I've been wanting to finish reading called Ironsworn Starforged, which is the sci-fi version of the RPG Ironsworn. And that one is a what was it? It was a 2d6 and a d8 based role-playing game, or was it d10? I think it's d10. And in it you are you're an explorer going out into the various parts of the galaxy to find resources, technology, etc., to make everything around you a better place. But of course, it's dangerous work and lots of other problems accrue. The game is actually built for solo play as well as small group play.
That's cool.
It is really cool. Every time I tried to read it, including when I was in the hospital, something would come up. So I didn't get very far. I think I'm only like 30 pages in, but I'm definitely loving what I'm reading so far.
That's good.
And after getting out of the hospital, was it yesterday, it finally released on PS5, because I don't have PC gaming anymore as an option. The game Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool one.
So, if for those who don't know, you are an employee of the Lynx company, you owe the company like 1.4 billion credits, and your job is literally breaking down salvageable ships. And it's like this really weird cross of like it has some parts that remind me of Dead Space with like the tools that you get to use. There's a little bit of oh boy, what was that? There was a game where you were literally cleaning up from the aftermath of
Viscera Cleanup Detail.
Yes, that one. Very reminiscent of that, where you have to go ahead and like because right now, like when I was playing it earlier, you have to be careful about areas that are pressurized and not pressurized. You have to cut off parts of the ship, but not so much that you're going to melt the aluminum that you need to throw in the furnace. But you also have to know the difference between, are you throwing it into the furnace, the processor, or to the barge? And you're just doing this repeat of what goes where in a limited amount of time with limited resources, i.e. fuel and air.
Sounds like a librarian job.
It's definitely been interesting, and sometimes I'm just like, I wonder what's going to happen when this blows up. And like I've just been purposely doing things like that. Like after I do one of the achievements I'm working on, which involves breaking apart two ships of the same type and accruing a certain amount of money between both of them. Once I get that achievement done, I'm going to go ahead, load it, and I'm going to purposely lose as much money as possible. I'm going to get this ship, I'm going to just throw everything into the void of space, I'm going to remove the reactor and let it blow up, I'm going to hit the fuel canisters so they blow up. Like, I'm just going to blow this ship to smithereens to the point where it will say I just lost, because it gives you a gauge at the top of how much progress you've made and how much damage you've done. Like, what is no longer salvageable. So it tells you how many percent is no longer salvageable. My worst so far, I think, was like a 10% not salvageable. Kind of curious if I can get that to like 90% not salvageable. That could be a fun little project tonight. So, but it's been a good relaxing thing that I could play in between everything else in my life. As I try to recover and not feel like death.
Yeah, you got to take it easy and relax for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if our audience noticed, we stealth moved into Minish recap here. So, anything, Zyber? Let's see if you have anything interesting that's happened this past week.
Yeah, so I was trying really hard to get Final Fantasy 14 to run on a PlayStation, my account specifically. I had issues because my actual PlayStation account is tied to an old Final Fantasy account, and they won't remove it for me because I used an Amazon Prime subscription to get a month of Final Fantasy subscription, and therefore, oh no, sorry, you paid for it at one point. We can't remove it from your PlayStation account.
Super annoying, the amount of ridiculousness that Squeenix has been doing over the whole, like, hey, if you've ever paid a subscription fee at all, you have to resubscribe, period.
Like, supposedly this thing specifically is a PlayStation issue, and I'm just like, I'm not sure why it would be. Like, for whatever reason, they're not able to remove their account from my PlayStation account being synced together. And so finally I'm just like, alright, whatever, I'll just make a new PlayStation account and sync my current Final Fantasy account to it. Well, I accidentally, because my 30-day trial ended when I bought the actual Final Fantasy 14 on the PC, so I was just going to buy the PS version and get another 30 days as well. Well, I accidentally bought it on my actual PlayStation account, so...
Oh no.
So I ended up buying it on the secondary one, and I got Final Fantasy 14 finally work on a PlayStation, huzzah. But I contacted PlayStation support to try to get a refund, because I'm just like, that was $60 still. I want to get that back.
I accidentally bought it on the wrong account. Give me my money back.
So I told the bot and the chat, and the bot's all like, oh yeah, let me send you to an actual person. And then I waited and waited and waited. And while I was waiting, I'm just like, hey, I got Volume 2 of this graphic novel called Magical Boy. Let me go read that. And so I did. I read through it all. Support never contacted me, so I need to try again later. But anyway,
Jeez.
Magical Boy is a fun graphic novel. Online friend of mine wrote it. It is about high schooler.
It's about a magical boy.
So it's about a high schooler who is descendant of a long line of magical girls, you know, like the Sailor Moon-esque magical girl stuff. And so issue is this high school is trying to come out as a trans male. So
that's an interesting concept. I like that.
Yeah, so it's magical boy because he is a boy instead of a girl.
Yeah.
His mom is absolutely furious because she's all like, oh, every descendant of this family is always a girl and blah blah, so you got to deal with in general the real world conflict of coming out as trans, and also this magical scenario where both sides are just all like, you can't possibly be a guy, that makes no sense.
It's too bad I am.
I need this in my life.
Yeah, it sounds...
It's really good. Like, you
really
can find it at most
curious about
bookstores.
it now.
Every, like, Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and all that stuff I go to, I end up seeing it.
If you could, like, jot down the name in a, one of our group chats somewhere so I can actually, like, see it, because there's a couple people in my life that I need to send it to, and I like making sure that I have exactly what we need for it.
So, yeah, it was split into 2 volumes. Both, the second one just came out a couple weeks ago, so they're both available now, and,
And is that's the complete story? Over 2 volumes?
Yeah.
I like whenever you get that nice, like, definitive start and end.
Yeah, it was originally posted on Webtoons, and then
of course it was
Webtoons actually got published, so that's pretty awesome.
That is.
Yep. Let's see. On Monday, I guest starred on Admiral's stream for a game show that he ran that he called Secret Time, where a bunch of his friends and fellow streamers, we all came together and we submitted to him before the show a couple secrets, and then had to, as a group, decide who the secret belonged to. And one of those, like, sort of like an icebreaker style exercise, except much more embarrassing and silly than an actual icebreaker, because we went with some really ridiculous secrets, I'll tell you, for sure.
Yeah, I heard some of it.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm going to try and see if I can't get him to pull the video of his stream that was just the secret time portion and put it together into some sort of video and be able to actually have people watch it that weren't there for the stream, because it was very entertaining. And then I also went through a bunch of just awful woes, having installed a new hard drive into my computer because I was running out of space on my video game drive. Put in a new drive that had been sitting on the desk for like months and months and months. Finally was low enough on space that I slipped it in there. Moved over a bunch of game files and whatnot from the current drive to that one, and broke everything by doing that.
Ooh.
Because the Xbox app for PC is not actually a normal executable. It's an app through the App Store, not something that you just download like a normal PC should
I hate
work.
those things so much.
I hate them so much. So it continually kept thinking that all of those games that were installed on the OneDrive were on that OneDrive. There was no way for me to reassign the file path that it was looking at. Even when I uninstalled the Xbox app and reinstalled it, it kept some sort of file path
Cache.
cookie, something or another. I don't know, hash, whatever. Zyber, you would know what I'm talking about more than I would.
Yeah.
It kept something on the system that it kept looking at the same thing. So I had to format both drives, the one that the files had been moved to and the one that the files had come from, in order to get that to work, which means that I then had to reinstall all of those games, and I had to reinstall all of the games for all of my other gaming, like Steam and Origin and etc., because I didn't have enough space to fiddle them around back and forth while formatting both drives. It was such a pain, and I was so mad at Microsoft for, like, let me use my computer the way I want to, not the way that you're forcing me to, please.
Well, now you know for next time. Uninstall the games and then reinstall them in the new location.
Maybe, because of the way that the hash were broken, I couldn't even tell the Xbox to uninstall it, because it was looking at that old file path to uninstall and then being like, well, there's nothing here. And
well, there's nothing here, then why do you say there is?
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, doing all of that swapping around just left like 20 gigs of garbage files from those weird old hashes that were then like owner protected, the whole like admin stuff, to an account that doesn't exist for some reason. So I couldn't even view them or delete them because I wasn't the owner of them, even though I am the administrator of my PC, and I was giving myself administrative permissions. It was telling me that I wasn't the owner, so I couldn't. It was just such a headache. I was so upset. I pulled the nuclear option and formatted the drives.
So that's where you just cue the Hades reference of there's just one eensy weensy teensy weensy little problem. I own you!
Yeah, exactly. That was a pain. That's Ministry Cup. Let's wrap up the episode. We finally have brought back, thanks to Prime Minister Oshi, we have finally brought back our Album of the Week club here on the Bombers Discord server. Again, link in the descriptions below, where we, each week, one of the participants in the club submits a new album for us to listen to. It's a great way to broaden your experience in music to things that you may not usually be exposed to, and to learn a little bit more about your fellow community members by figuring out what their music tastes are. So this kicked off this week, NPC Cyber, we kicked off, Oshi submitted Gustav Holst's The Planets Suite, which I actually saw performed live by the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra just a couple years ago, like pre-World Events. And I love it. I love The Planets Suite. NPC, I know you weren't necessarily prepared for this discussion, but have you listened to the Planet Suite before?
I have not, no.
Okay.
At least I don't believe so.
You've probably heard at least Mars, which is the bomb, 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 you know that?
Possibly.
Yeah, me singing it was super great, I'm sure.
It did give me like Star Wars vibes.
Yeah, that's what I really loved about going back and re-listening it, not just listening to it because the orchestra's playing it, but listening to it in a little bit more of a paying attention mindset for the album was really, and we had a big discussion on it in the Album of the Week channel, how much specifically Holst has, he composed this in the early 1900s, right around, the radio existed at the time, but the film industry really didn't yet. But his music so deeply impacted and inspired a lot of movie scores. You can hear the influence of Holst's music in, well, specifically a lot of John Williams stuff, for sure. But you can hear it.
That's why I know the name. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, John Williams' stuff, Zemeckis' stuff has a lot of Holst inspiration in it too, which is another name that a lot of people will know from movies. We've a lot of Mars shows up in Star Wars a lot. Venus had, we noticed that there's some similarities in Venus to like Phantom of the Opera or different portions of Back to the Future. It was really cool actually paying attention to, I can see how this music inspired. Zyber, did you give a listen to this album?
So I started listening to today. I got up through the fourth one, Saturn, I believe. And yeah, I'd say like Mercury and Saturn also remind me of like the kind of music that was used for Fantasia. So like one of them I even like was trying to like imagine just a little storyline that was happening.
Yeah, I believe I gotta pull up. I didn't open up the actual list because I don't remember exactly which plan is which track number because I can't remember the order of them. I think it's Mercury that. No. It's Uranus the Magician. It sounds so much like The Magician's Apprentice, which. Hey, the Magician's Apprentice, they're together.
We'll have to get that far to listen to it.
Well, it's and what's interesting about that is that I'm going to look this up now in the middle of this. I didn't think to prepare this.
How dare us being prepared?
Never.
Who does that?
Fantasia came out in was the 40s, 50s. It was
pretty early, so yeah.
Yeah, it was fairly early, but The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the actual song, is from completed in 1897, so moderately contemporaneous to Holst in his composing of the Planet Suite, and then it wasn't like full-blown in public consciousness, of course, until Fantasia, really, with the Mickey Mouse and the magic and all that.
That was 1940.
Was 40? Okay. It's interesting to think that Holst knew The Magician's Apprentice by French composer Paul Dukas. I like music. I'm glad that Oshii brought back the club, and I'm looking forward to more songs, and I really appreciate that the first choice that we had was these wonderful classic pieces. Well, for any given definition of classic, they're orchestra pieces, the early 1900s. There's a lot of discussion that we had over classic versus modern, etc.
It's neoclassic. It's all good.
Yeah, the orchestra music, shall we say.
Well, I'd say, it's definitely classic. Like, I mean, even current orchestra stuff doesn't necessarily sound like that anymore. They have their own modern twists.
There is a lot more... in current classic tends, quote-unquote classic, tends to be, like, used for movie scores, and all of that is influenced, as I said earlier. A lot of it's influenced by Holst's original themes that he kind of went for there. So it's cool. It was a good listen. So thank you, Oshii, and looking forward to. I guess at this point, technically on this recording, I'm the next pick for the album of the week. However, this episode comes out after I will have picked it, so you two will get to know this a little bit before it gets announced in the actual Discord. My pick for album of the week is I wrote
He
it
doesn't
down.
remember.
Uh-oh.
I guess we won't find out.
I
Oh,
wrote it
no.
down. My
The Bee
pick
Gees.
was it is the Dead South, Good Company. That is the album that I have picked.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
It's some a folk bluegrass ensemble.
Oh,
So that might explain why you don't know what it is. Super good stuff. I am looking forward to hearing people's thoughts on that, which sort of plays into the fact that I said, yeah, my music choices are very eclectic. So here, have some folk bluegrass.
well, Haley, my wife, listens to some bluegrass, like, what's the term? Versions
what's the
of
term.
songs.
Arrangements.
Yeah, arrangements.
Yeah, I mean, bluegrass is fun. I like blues in general, so bluegrass just takes blues and gives it that more twangy
Is
element
it that
to it.
matcha flavor that we desperately need?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep.